Hey everybody, what is up? My name is Martin and welcome to AAA Digest. So we make RDR2 videos and put them on the internet, like the majority of YouTubers these days, I guess. So with Taylor back, our upload schedule should be sorted out and we've got quite a few videos on the way. But for now, here's yet another character video that revolves around Red Dead Redemption 2's Bill Williamson. And if you haven't seen one of these RDR2 character videos from us, we describe a character's history, characteristics, relationships, and their possible role for Red Dead Redemption 2's story, all in one video dedicated to one character. So buckle in lads, here's what we know about Red Dead Redemption 2's Bill Williamson. Number 1, formerly a military man. So Bill Williamson was born in 1866, and as Red Dead Redemption 2 first takes place in 1899, this makes Bill roughly 33 years old as the game begins. In his youth, he joined the military where he acquired some of his skills as a gunman and furthermore developed his ruthless mentality and soon became the efficient marksman we see in RDR1. Although Bill is extremely greedy by nature, he couldn't see the military as being a fast track towards riches or success. Thus he left the military and instead chose a life of crime as an outlaw, where he has some success, and he quickly crosses paths with Dutch van der Linde, charismatic leader of the soon-to-be most successful and notorious band of outlaws across America, known as Dutch's Gang. Fucking legends. Number 2, Bill is one of Dutch's leading enforcers. So Bill rides with Dutch and the gang, and he quickly establishes himself as one of Dutch's most experienced and reliable gunmen, ruthless, cold, calculated, and willing to obey orders and execute Dutch's plans. So he, alongside other gang members Arthur Morgan, John Marston, Javier Escuela, and much more, together rob over 40 banks. They take from those who have too much and become the most notorious gang across America. And over the years, Bill begins to hold great admiration towards Dutch van der Linde for making him feel like his life has purpose yet again, and he aspires to be a leader within the gang. So Bill begins to adopt a similar life philosophy to Dutch van der Linde and the rest of the gang. They oppose government control, promote the idea of a world free of government and a life lived in independence. And Bill's newfound ideals and the gang's actions throughout the world gains major attention from the government and lawmen across the country who aim to pursue them across America in a bid to cement their control over the region. Number 3, he's ruthless, power hungry, yet a survivor. Now in terms of Bill's personality and characteristics, he's quite a lot of things. Mostly negative, yet he does have some positive traits. Even though in RDR1 we rarely see any of these positive characteristics from Bill, in that game he's a shadow of his former self in that timeline. So in RDR2, we'll see him at his best, tell stories to Jack Marston, John's son around the campfire, alongside Dutch, and he is viewed as an uncle to Marcin's son. So he does have somewhat of a loving relationship with Jack Marston, and at the beginning he has a brotherhood with John Marston. And in regards to other positive aspects of good old Bill, he's also extremely loyal to Dutch van der Linde and tries hard to gain his trust and respect in the hope of gaining a more prominent role within the gang. So Bill follows Dutch's orders without question. Yet information gained from Red Dead Redemption 1, Williamson has the tendency to be a coward as soon as his power position is removed from the equation. In that game, Bill does crumble under the pressure. He flees across America and eventually to Mexico, and at the very end of his life, he practically begins begging and pleading for mercy from John Marston, only to sneakily try and attack John when the opportunity presented itself. So Bill does value his own life above anything or anyone else and will act as a coward to survive. And based on a quote from John Marston, Williamson is a proud fool. Question is, which will win out between his pride and his instinct for survival? So naturally, he's always been quite well adept to surviving through tricky situations, which, let's be real, is extremely beneficial and valuable for a gang that's on the run from the government and wanted dead or alive. Bill is ultimately needed within the gang. Number 4, he grows jealous of John Marston. So it has been strongly suggested and never exactly denied that Bill Williamson has a casual sexual relationship with John Marston's future wife, Abigail, in the past during RDR2's timeline. And Abigail at that time is working as a prostitute alongside the gang. Yet when a young, brash and confident gunslinger known as John Marston is recruited by Dutch and enters the gang, John falls in love with Abigail and Bill becomes somewhat jealous of their relationship. And that aside, both Bill and John also compete for Dutch van der Linde's attention, attempting to impress the charismatic gang leader when the opportunity arises. Bill also aspires to be a leader, yet he is viewed as a ruthless hitman who doesn't hold the required wit or intelligence to make him an important decision maker for the gang, while Marston is deemed to be one of Dutch's favourite sons and very capable. This leads to further resentment between the two men, eventually tearing their relationship apart from friends to frenemies to bitter rivals. And we've seen major examples of Bill Williamson's admiration for Dutch and disdain for John Marston in RDR1, and thankfully we'll get to see these two former friends and brothers in arms relationship turn very sour. So look forward to that relationship dynamic. It's possibly one of the most interesting within Dutch's gang. Number 5, he alongside Dutch leaves John Marston for dead. Now, as Dutch van der Linde becomes noticeably more insane, the gang began to fall into desperation, and conflicts within the gang start to rapidly arise, and Dutch's plans for heists and robberies go from being quite genius to becoming unpractical and predictable, leading to unsuccessful bank robberies. Meanwhile, Bill, Javier and Dutch have grown to dislike John Marston throughout the years. John is youthful, brash and reckless, and this leads to the gang abandoning John during a botched robbery in 1906. And based on RDR1, we get lines from Bill that would suggest that John's capture/death was purposely planned. Quote, "Dutch, Javier and I wanted you dead. We all did." And although this is a character-defining moment for John Marston, quote, he leaves the gang after the gang left him, it also confirms Dutch and Bill's madness, that they're willing to leave their brother-in-arms behind. Thus, this pushes the gang over the edge and they soon split, going their separate ways, and the original Dutch's gang become no more, and Dutch goes into hiding, and Bill Williamson starts his own gang, terrorizing the locals and having some major success. Number 6, Bill goes insane. So as Dutch's gang begin to fall apart, Bill Williamson alongside Dutch van der Linde fall into madness. So throughout the years, Bill's love and admiration for Dutch van der Linde turns into blind devotion as the gang become more desperate, seeking out money and fleeing region to region in a bid to outrun the federal government, whom are relentlessly pursuing them across America. This eventually leads to major conflicts and a large split within the gang. Yet Bill remains by Dutch's side, and when Dutch becomes noticeably more and more insane, his strong idealism converts into madness, which causes Bill Williamson to follow Dutch down this dark road, and he can't come back from it. He too becomes quite insane, starts to lose his mind and loses sight of the gang's original plan and motivations. But there's also going to be another defining moment in Bill's story, and thankfully we'll get to see it in Red Dead Redemption 2, so do expect to see Bill Williamson's mental decline in this game. He is still very capable in RDR1, but despite losing his mind to some extent, he's a shadow of his former self in that game. So we'll thankfully see Bill Williamson during his glory days. Now, one thing that can be noted in Red Dead Redemption 1, despite being noticeably crazy, Bill still respects John enough to warn him to leave or get shot as Marston approaches Fort Mercer at the beginning of that game, and Bill doesn't shoot him outright. So deep down he still has some respect for John, yet when his life is on the line, that soon changes. But yeah, that is the end of this Bill Williamson video, guys. Now, as I said before, we could have second versions of these videos, like John Marston Details Part 2, Arthur Morgan Part 2, but only if we get more information regarding the story, so we'll see what happens. So yeah, that is the end of the video, guys. As always, thank you so much for watching. For more RDR2 content like this, stay tuned here on AAA Digest. But later, guys. Bye-bye.
Everything's absolutely splendid. Walking down the street and you head out